Good morning. Welcome to Morning Meditations. And I'll be filling in this week while Pastor's out of town. And we're going to look at Proverbs 17. And this is where I was in my devotions this morning. And in this proverb, so many different topics covered every couple verses. We're switching back and forth to different topics. But one of the principles in this throughout this chapter, and just the only one we'll look at today, is our speech. Our words and our speech are important, and we find this all throughout the Proverbs. And the Bible has a lot to say of what wise speech looks like, what foolish speech looks like. And just a couple examples from chapter 17 in Proverbs here. If you look at verse 4, it says, "A wicked doer giveth heed to false lips, and a liar giveth ear to a naughty tongue." Verse 7, "Excellent speech becometh not a fool, much less do lying lips a prince." And so we see in both of those verses here that at the heart of a sin there was the wrong type of words, of the wrong speech coming out. In verse 4, it's talking about someone who is doing evil. It usually starts because they heard some evil out of someone else's mouth. And someone who speaks evil out of their mouth, and they're repeating something that they heard from someone else. And it's a cycle that goes around where the words of our mouth, the evil words that we speak, the Bible puts them right in the middle of evil actions and evil rumors being spread. And on both sides of that, right in the middle, is someone who's saying the wrong words, someone who's speaking evil words against someone else, whether they're lies or whether it's just slander or just gossip, but the wrong type of talking, evil words coming out of their mouth. Our speech is important. And in verse 7, it says, excellent speech, it doesn't become a fool. What it's saying is, you're someone who's a fool, someone who's a foolish person, and just constantly in trouble and in sin and just wants to scoff at things that are right. That type of person, if they were to talk right, if they were to all of a sudden, just be professional and polite and speak appropriately, the Bible says that wouldn't even become them. It doesn't match with who they are, because on the inside, they're just a crazy loose fool, and it wouldn't match for them. It wouldn't go along with them. Someone who is of that mindset, they can't help but have it come out of their mouth. And the Bible says, just like a prince, someone of a prince, someone with a good education, and someone who's used to being able to hold themselves correctly in the affairs of state, and they know all the procedures and can talk right. The Bible says that, a lying lips don't become a prince, someone who should be honorable and someone who should be kind. And we know that, in politicians and princes and dignitaries, both now and throughout history, they were liars. They might have looked right, they might have looked okay, but just because someone was a good person, that doesn't mean that they would never lie. And so a prince should not have a lying tongue. They don't want that image, they don't want their reputation, and it doesn't become them to be a liar. And the Bible says even worse than that, though, is the opposite of that is a fool, who they don't want people to think they're a liar. They may want to carry themselves right, but that whole persona doesn't even match with who they are, because deep inside, they're just a foolish person who they can't help but just constantly be spilling out whatever's on their mind. They can't help but spit it out. And the Bible says that just doesn't, they don't go together. Those two ideas, a fool is literally incapable of not speaking out nonsense out of his mouth and not sinning with his mouth until he gets his heart problem right, is what the Bible is teaching there. And if you're that person, that should be a warning to us. If we're the type of person that we speak wrong things out of our mouth, we say lies, we say evil things out of our mouth, and we don't even notice it, that's a heart problem that we can try to control our mouth, we can try to do better, but somewhere inside there's something that doesn't match with what we want to be on the outside, isn't matching what our heart is like. Somewhere in our heart we've lifted ourselves up into being the most important person in our life. And so we can't help but just speak whatever's on our mind. And that goes along with just a couple last verses we'll look at. If you look at verse 12, let me turn the page here, verse 12 of Proverbs 17. "Let a bear robbed of her whelps meet a man rather than a fool in his folly." This is talking about how quick a fool is to lash out into anger. The Bible is saying, if you're better off running into a mama bear who just got her cubs taken away from her, and that's one of the most natural examples we can think of a terror and something angry in nature is a mother bear without her cubs. And the Bible says you're better off running into a mother bear robbed of her cubs than meeting a fool in the middle of his folly. Because a fool is so quick to lash out into anger and just so quick to, based off of moment, there's no way to even tell. At least a bear, you can tell why it's angry or what's mad. With a fool, it just out of nowhere, they can all of a sudden be angry and in folly. And we've all met people like that. They were just so angry and it could come out of nowhere, and it was almost, you weren't sure why, but they lash out. The Bible says that's a fool. That's someone who, they can't control their mouth. It's all about them and who they are. And just a couple more verses real quickly here. We're running out of time. Verse 19. He loveth transgression that loveth strife, and he that exalteth his gate seeketh destruction. And here we're talking about that same idea. That he loves transgression that loves strife. Someone who wants strife is to fight or to be in arguments or to be bickering and sometimes come to physical blows. And the Bible says someone who loves strife, someone who loves fighting, they love sin. They love transgression. If you love to fight, not talking about sports or something here, but you're always in arguments with someone. You always have to say something contrary to someone. You always find yourself getting into brawls or fights. The Bible says that's a person who love sin. They love just doing things that are wrong. There's something wrong in their heart, and that's the fool. Verse 20. He that hath a froward heart, that's a wrong heart, findeth no good, and he that hath a perverse tongue falleth into mischief. And again, we see just like someone with a wrong heart is going to fall into sin, and someone with a wrong tongue, someone who can't control their tongue, that they just have to speak evil things, the Bible says they're going to be in trouble as well. Let's just skip down to verse 27, 28, we'll be done. The very end of chapter 17. He that hath knowledge spareth his words, and a man of understanding is of an excellent spirit. Even a fool, when he holdeth his peace, is counted wise, and he that shutteth his lips is esteemed a man of understanding. And so the Bible says there, someone who's wise, someone who has understanding, they're going to be a person of fewer words. They're not going to be speaking so often. Someone is not talking very often and they're quiet. It doesn't mean that they don't know what's going on. It probably means that they're a wise person who they don't always think that they have every answer and that everyone needs to hear their opinion. They keep it to themselves. The Bible says that's someone who has understanding. The less you're talking, the more you can listen, the more you can take in, and the more that you can grow in knowledge and situations and experiences and start to see the truth in situations and what's happening. But if you always have to talk, you always have to get your opinion out there, you might be in danger of being on the foolish side. And so I can caution us this morning, we all need help in this area. But the Bible says a good solution, even a fool, when he holds his peace, is counted wise. A foolish person, no matter how foolish they are, if they keep their mouth shut, if they don't open their mouth and let everyone know how foolish they are, people will think they're wise. People will think they're smarter than they are. They would just keep their mouths shut sometimes. And, that's a good principle for all of us. How are we at with our words? Our speech is important. Are we constantly in fights? Do we always have to get our words out there? Do we get angry quickly? Do we always have so much to say? And just take a moment. We don't think about how much we talk, but, take a moment in the social situations you find yourself in, with your family even, and with your kids and your family. Are you doing most of the talking all the time? Do you always have to overrun someone else in a conversation? Are your words more important than everyone else's? And if so, we need to just look at our heart, see, are we lifted up in pride? Have we become what the Bible calls a fool? Are we getting ourselves into trouble with our mouth? And maybe take some lessons from the wise man, from a man of understanding in the Bible that says, let's use fewer words. Let's hold on to our speech a little bit longer. Think it through before it comes out. Less words, more thinking, and let's let God guard our hearts as He can guard the words that come out, because they're powerful. Words can be a matter of life or death in our world. And let's make sure our words are pleasing to God and measured like the wise man. Thank you for joining us. God bless you.